My guest is a beloved dude around this area. He's a good friend of mine. He is a respected businessman. He's an apartment owner. He's a co-CEO. He is a dad. He's a husband. He's a card shark. He's always the best dressed guy in the room. My good friend Mike Saad. Mike, thanks for
Thanks, Scott. Good to see you today.
being a part of our first episode. So Mike, you have been in real estate a long time, right? So your family kind of got started in this. Why don't you give us a little rundown about how that took place?
Well, my brother and I, we're second generation real estate investors, and our dad had a restaurant. He got out of World War II, and he had a restaurant and started buying real estate with his profits. And when my brother and I were growing up, we just grew up in the family business, so it was kind of a path of least resistance. And when I went to East Carolina University, got a finance degree with a concentration in real estate, a minor in construction, but I'd been working in real estate just growing up.
Right.
I was a carpenter, I was one of the handymen, I was one of the cleanup guys. Basically, George and I, my brother and I, any of the jobs that nobody else wanted to do, we got, they got thrown in our lap. But
You were a handyman?
oh yeah, I ran
All
a
right.
service truck for 10 years. So. Yeah, I just kind of grew up in the business, and when I went to school, I kind of knew what I wanted to do. That's a challenging question, just to understand what you want to do. I've always had a pretty focused path, so I've enjoyed it.
So that's kind of how they say to do it, is to not quit your day job, but you take your profits and you invest those in real estate. I mean, he obviously learned that or knew that a long time ago at a very early age, right?
Yeah, I think it was a great strategy. I took a little more of a difficult road because I went directly into real estate, and by doing that, basically for the first 10 or 15 years, I never took a paycheck. All the profits I made in real estate went back into the real estate. I had a few properties to pay the family bills, and I was single at the time, so that helped out a lot. But I think, had I used my dad's strategy, and if I had a primary business and had taken the profits from the primary and invested in real estate, it would have been a lot faster of a path. But either way, I got to where I needed to be. At some point, we had enough equity in the property that it started cash flowing nice. It did cash flow at the beginning, just reinvested everything.
So you had a couple of properties that you used as your income, is that right?
That's right. I had a few properties that were paid for early on, and they were kind of fixer-uppers.
Right.
A few my dad had gifted to me, and they needed a lot of repairs, and I just went in there and did the repairs, and got those on the fast track really, really well.
So at some point, you acquired some apartment complexes, right? Can you walk us through kind of how that went?
So we had Dad's portfolio of, he had 300 single-family houses back in the day, some duplex in that mix. And, that just gets to be difficult to manage that many units.
Right.
Single-family houses, that's 300 roofs, 300, either way you're going to have 300 kitchens, but 300 exteriors to paint,
Right.
300 yards to take care of,
Right.
300 addresses. It just, the logistics of going from property A to B to C, servicing them was difficult.
Now, did you guys manage those yourselves?
Oh yeah, we
Okay.
managed everything. We've always managed everything, and we've managed for hire also back in the day. But then we decided to transition from single family to multifamily. It was my brother's idea. I was 22 years old. I woke up one day and they said, "Here's 5 apartment buildings we want you to manage." And I'd been managing properties my whole life, but to go from single family to multifamily, I walked in the office with nothing. So I ran down to Office Depot, got a pad, a packet of paper, legal paper, and some pens, and ran back to the office to put something together. We kept the ledgers on paper for the first 6 months.
No spreadsheets, huh?
No, this is pre-spreadsheets, and then we transitioned to spreadsheets, and then we transitioned to Yardia database. We bought into Yardia in 1994, back when it was just transitioned to Windows. So I was fortunate. I paid the $750 at the time. I could afford to pay the gentleman that ran the Yardi distributorship in Durham at the time. They're all out of Santa Barbara now, but he had the East Coast office, and I was fortunate enough to get him, the president, to come to Greenville for one day and school me on it as fast as he can. This is pre-internet, so that I took a lot of notes that day, and he helped me get it set up properly. And I didn't realize how much I needed those accounting classes that I slept through in college.
Right.
So
I'm guilty too, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. We all are, and a lot of those classes, you get thrown in the hot seat, and but a lot of that comes back really fast. So everything worked out for the better.
So, are any of those complexes what you currently run right now? The apartment complexes?
They sure are. We haven't sold a lot of properties. We ended up selling, for the most part, I'd say 280 of those houses. I've got another 20 left. The family does that we've been flipping lately, like about 4 or 5 a year.
Right.
But we just grew the property portfolio. At the time, we had, our first acquisition was 5 buildings, so that was probably about 80 units, and now we're at 300 units. We quit buying real estate, and our next phase we're going to start building. But we grew that to 300, and like I said earlier, we kind of did it on a shoestring back initially. A lot of it was, well leveraged, 20% down. And, but as we paid off that equity, things worked out, and we managed it ourselves. So we, that helped out because we made sure that it was being managed, to the best of our ability.
So what are the complexes you have now?
Well, we got Wesley South, that's in the university area at East Carolina. We've got, Campus Walk is in the university area. We've got Ashton Woods is in the university area, and we've got Brookfield, which is young professionals in the South Greenville market. And then we've got a mix of we've got some warehouse, we've got a few offices, we've got a bit of flex space. We've acquired a few new flex space properties in the last year. So we're just acquiring now. But the next phase, since 2 years ago I invested in my brother's construction restoration company, we hope to start building the next phase. We're trying right now to balance construction costs and interest rates. It's difficult, but there's always opportunities, if you dig deep enough, that you can find a competitive advantage, and that's where we are right now.
Right, economies of scale. So you mentioned your brother. George Saad is also a beloved guy around here, a respected businessman, and he started CareMaster. Is that right?
I think he's the second owner, actually.
Oh,
he started in the late 60s, and
Okay.
he acquired it from the original owner, and they were pretty much into carpet cleaning back in the day, and
Right.
they did some restoration work. And when he got on board, he saw there's more opportunity in the restoration business, so he grew that. I think it had maybe less than 5 employees, and now we're right at 80 employees.
Wow.
So we're in 2 cities, and we focus on our average job is $13,000 in the restoration, fire, water damage. But we'll do our largest job this year will be at 1.5 million. I think last year was 1.3. So we'll have a few oddballs, but and we do $100,000 restoration jobs all the time. We probably have 7 going on right now, over 100,000. But
Right.
And then our smallest job is like $300. You gotta, we care about everyone. If you have a small job,
Cleaning 2 rooms in your house, right?
yes, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. So I was always taught. I had a few mentors back in the day, and I was taught to never turn away the small jobs, because the small jobs lead, open the door to big jobs. Once you build that customer. So that was a little tidbit that a friend of mine gave me, who put the heating air in the World Trade Center. He was one of my mentors back in the day.
Heating air in the World Trade Center.
Yeah, he was one of 4 contractors, and he had a heating and air service company in Hoboken, New Jersey. And he serviced the city, and he told me, because at the time I was young and not so smart, and haven't moved that much today. Just
What's
because I'm
changed
older.
since then?
Exactly, I'm a little older now, but he told me, he's like, Mike, don't turn your back to the small jobs, because you'll build a customer and make them happy, and that'll
Right.
open the door to a big
Right.
job. And I took that to heart, and that's great advice.
So a lot of people probably don't know that George and his wife Kim have moved to Charlotte, right?
That's right, but he's very active. I joke. I say he cut back to 50 hours a week. He was working about 100 hours a week. He was one of those guys that worked days, nights, and weekends, and now he's cut back to about 50 hours a week, and he's shooting out emails and calling people. He starts at 5 in the morning, so it's been no vacation for him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I actually talked to George at some length about his company acting as the rehab contractor for some flips that I've been looking at in Charlotte. So obviously very active up there. Does he have a team up there? I guess he's got a...
No, we don't. We have a team in Raleigh, and we have a
Okay.
team in Greenville. We did have a team in Charlotte back in the day, but we didn't have any feet on the ground. That might change
Yeah.
now that George is in Charlotte.
Right,
So
I
we'll
would
see.
see that. Okay. All right, so you mentioned mentors.
Yeah.
So tell me, obviously your dad had to be a great mentor.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
George will probably say he's a mentor.
Yeah, that's right, big brother. Well, I'm I was gifted with an amazing childhood. Had a very active dad who was a workaholic. Our dad grew up during the Depression, so he only knew work. And
Right.
his idea. I think his idea of a summer vacation is we would go to the beach for one weekend. And we would go to New Hampshire to visit some family one week, and that was it. He never took a vacation. He worked 7 days a week. I used to say, "Hey, Dad, how about the day off?" And he would say, "Well, son, you got to eat today. There's no time off."
Gotta eat every day, right?
That's right. So, but he it was that generation, and I'm glad he instilled that work ethic in my brother and I. But he taught us a lot of lessons. He did not go to college, which my dad had kids late in life, so he was born in 1921. Like I said, he was a World War II, veteran,
Yeah.
and so he, those guys were cut from a different mold. Very impressive
Right.
generation, and but he believed, and one common thing, I've got a handful of mentors, their dad included. They all taught me. I can see a lot of similarities in all their beliefs, but really simple people, simple-minded people, and they believed in treating others as you would like to be treated. And I made some mistakes over the years. I remember one time I hired an employee from from someone that was a mentor, and I was just young and stupid, and I had a position. They came to me. I didn't come to them, but. I wouldn't do that today. And I remember I went to the person's house and I apologized. And he said, "Mike, I just live by a simple rule: just treat others as you'd like to be treated." It was a very humbling situation, and
I'm sure.
I've never forgotten it. So,
We learned that in kindergarten, right?
yeah, for sure. And but that was Dad's belief in taking care of his properties, 300 units, and in fact, he was probably more flexible than most people should be. When people weren't paying their rent, he would work with you.
Right.
And there were a lot of Friday nights we spent knocking on doors trying to collect rent, and we came back with some really good reasons why they couldn't pay. But we at the end of the day, we've always tried to. That's been a motto in our businesses. Is just I tell all our staff, take care of the business second, take care of the customer first. Make sure you're treating your customers like you would want to be treated. And if we don't make money on a job, or same thing with an apartment, a rental unit, Babe Ruth didn't bat 1,000, and we're gonna have some mistakes, and we just try to own it. I tell my people, just own it. Let's fix it. Let's take care of the customer. Nowadays, of course, they have Google reviews. The last thing you want is a Google review, but
They can sure beat you up.
yeah, they sure can. But more important, we just don't want to leave a bad taste in anyone's mouth, and we make an effort to always take care of our customers and just do the right thing, irregardless of the profits.
Right.
And we feel like it pays off in the long run.
That is a philosophy I think that'll treat you well all the way through. If you had to start over, and you were 20 years old, what would you do differently than what you did?
Oh boy, that's a great question.
I didn't tell you that question.
Yeah. Well, if I don't know that I would do a lot different, but one thing for sure is I do have a problem with overanalyzing. That's my finance background and just the way my brain works. My brother, we're a great we're great partners, because they say if you ever are partners, you want to find someone opposite of yourself that has strengths that overcome your weaknesses. That's one of my weaknesses, is I do overthink things. And my brother, thank God, has always been there to kind of push me into going ahead and making decisions. I'd probably make decisions a little quicker if I were younger. And I would probably take more risk while I was young. And because I really was slow, maybe I should have had 1,000 apartments by now. I'm 54 years old, I believe. I would do that, and I would definitely have I got some mentors early, but I would have been less hesitant to get mentors.
Right.
I was embarrassed to ask, these people, because they're very, you want to find a mentor that's successful in your field. And I was fortunate. I grew up with some people that their dads were, very successful in the industry that I'm in, and so I had a connection to them. And I was embarrassed to ask them for advice, but once I did, I found out they were very generous with their time. And these are people that are very busy, but they're generous because it's one thing that we've all, in business, you can learn some good standards in school, but it's the school of hard knocks that really teach you the important, the big lessons. And I'm not discounting, having a formal education. It's imperative, but it's those, it's those lessons with that you can learn a lot more cost effectively by talking to someone that's already been there. And those mentors, they said things that just were burned in my brain, because I cherished the opportunity to talk to them and get their opinion, and they learned from just basically making a lot of bad mistakes. We've all made, if you've been in business, if you've done anything successfully, you've made a lot of bad mistakes. And I can say I've made just as many as the next guy, but you got to learn from them. And that's one thing we really preach to our employees is I'm okay if someone makes a mistake and screws up. I just want them to own it and learn from it, and hopefully teach their coworkers.
That's right.
What happened.
It's not if you make a mistake, it's when, and then what do you do about it?
That's right.
After you make a mistake.
The only person not making a mistake is the person not doing anything.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. If you're not committing any penalties on the field in football, then you're certainly not playing hard enough.
That's right.
All right, well, one last thing. And look, I know all about the mentor thing. I want to say something about that. My dad died when I was 21, so I didn't have a mentor after that. And everything I've learned has been through asking questions, older people, folks that have been in the business a long time. And then now I'm paying money for mentorship, right? And it's the best money you could spend. You got to have a mentor, you got to have a coach, and then you got to take action. So, but one of those things in between is education. So what do you do? Are you a reader? If you are, what are you reading currently?
Well, currently the book I'm reading is The Blue Zone, and it's the Blue Zone's about not just diet, which is what it's known for, but it's also just living life and all the benefits to having a balanced life.
Right.
A lot of research, a lot of great research that's been done on that. So that's a book I'm currently reading. But honestly, I listen to YouTube all my free time. I'm either on podcast or YouTube.
Me too.
And I when I'm at home relaxing before the wife comes in to if we're gonna pop a movie in or something, I'll be just vegging out some YouTube or some podcasts. But if I'm jogging, I'm listening to podcasts, and so that's kind of where I spend a lot of my free time, and there's just so much information out there. We're just flooded by it nowadays.
That's right, and part of the problem is what to listen to and what not to, and I do the same thing. I'm a musician. I mean, everybody thinks I listen to music all the time, and I really rarely listen to music now, and it's all, my truck is a little educational center, yeah. Right? So that's, and then all my walking time is usually on a podcast, and but I've found that if I sit down and read some, like a regular old book, that and I can stop and make marks in it, I really get a lot of that. Podcasts, I got to go back and listen to them and take notes, especially if I'm doing something where I can't really stop. But anyway, Mike, thanks so much, and You were getting ready to say something.
I was just going to say, Scott, I'm excited what you're doing with your podcast, and good luck with it. And you've had such a great career, and you've always been doing a lot of exciting things. So you always inspire me yourself, and I appreciate you calling on me today.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.
And so guys, we're going to do this again. I don't know when, but I'm getting ready to take a trip. I'll be out of country for a little bit, and but just I'll leave you with a couple of parting words. Find a coach, read a book, and take some action.